The biting Siberian wind howled a mournful dirge across the desolate plateau, its icy breath stinging the exposed skin of the men huddled within the imposing structure. The year echoed with whispers of revolution, of burgeoning scientific ambition, and of a darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of progress. This was Project Nightingale, a clandestine Soviet endeavor shrouded in secrecy, its very existence a testament to the chilling pursuit of knowledge at any cost. Within its walls, a horrifying experiment was taking root, an experiment that would unravel the very fabric of reality for those who dared to participate. The air itself seemed to thrum with an unnatural energy, a silent promise of unspeakable horrors. Dr. Dmitry Volkov, a brilliant but deeply troubled neurologist, stood at the heart of this macabre undertaking. His eyes, once alight with the fervor of discovery, now held a chilling intensity, reflecting the encroaching darkness within the project. Driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge, he believed he could unlock the secrets of the human mind, harnessing the power of sleep to push the boundaries of human potential. He was a man of meticulous planning, of cold logic, a man who saw only the potential for advancement, oblivious to the creeping shadows that were already coalescing around him. His counterpart, a hardened, pragmatically driven Colonel Yevgeny Markov, oversaw the logistics and security of the project. He was a man of iron will, forged in the fires of the revolution, his eyes mirroring the unforgiving landscape around him. He had been tasked with ensuring the experiment's success, a success that demanded unwavering obedience and absolute control. Yet a flicker of doubt, a whisper of unease, often clouded his determination. The initial subjects were a diverse collection, each drawn by the siren song of scientific advancement, lured by the promise of glory and the chance to rewrite the very laws of biology. Among them was Anya Petrova, a young, fiercely independent botanist, her mind as sharp as the mountain peaks surrounding the complex. She arrived with a healthy skepticism, her scientific curiosity tempered by a deep-seated distrust of unchecked power. She was a beacon of reason, a voice of dissent in the suffocating silence of the laboratory. Her presence, however, was not enough to ward off the creeping terror that was slowly engulfing the project. The experiment's initial promise of progress masked a profound and terrifying truth. The human mind, once thought to be a fortress, was in fact a fragile vessel, easily shattered by the relentless pursuit of knowledge. The initial conflict, unspoken but palpable, lay in the clash between the relentless drive for scientific advancement and the inherent fragility of the human spirit. The air grew heavy with anticipation, the silence punctuated only by the rhythmic hum of the machinery and the measured footsteps of the guards. Each subject was meticulously observed, their every movement catalogued, their every thought analyzed. The initial stages of the experiment, shrouded in a veneer of scientific rigor, were in reality a subtle manipulation, a slow descent into a terrifying abyss. Anya Petrova felt a chilling premonition, a sense of foreboding that something profoundly wrong was taking root within Project Nightingale. The initial conflict, a silent struggle between scientific ambition and the unknown consequences, had begun to manifest itself in the subtle shifts in the atmosphere, in the growing unease among the subjects, and in the chilling silence that clung to the corridors of the laboratory. The Ural Mountains, a jagged spine of frozen granite, loomed over the desolate plateau. A biting wind, carrying the scent of pine and frost, whipped across the barren landscape, mirroring the chilling atmosphere within the sprawling complex of Project Nightingale. The buildings, constructed of grey, unyielding concrete, seemed to absorb the surrounding desolation, their stark silhouettes piercing the perpetually overcast sky. Inside, the air hung heavy with the metallic tang of antiseptic and the faint, sickly, sweet odor of fear. The unforgiving environment reflected the harsh realities of the Soviet regime, a constant reminder of the immense power wielded by those in control and the vulnerability of those subjected to it. Dr. Dmitry Volkov, a man consumed by an insatiable hunger for knowledge, inhabited a world of meticulously organized data and precise calculations. His apartment within the complex was a testament to his obsessive nature. Rows of meticulously labeled files, stacks of scientific papers, and intricate diagrams charting the mysteries of sleep. Years of dedicated study had transformed him into a man of unwavering conviction, his scientific pursuits blurring the lines between reason and obsession. His past held a profound tragedy, a loss that fueled his determination to unravel the secrets of the human mind, to find a way to transcend the limitations of mortality. This tragedy, however, also cast a long shadow over him, a hidden torment that whispered in the quiet moments, reminding him of the fragility of human life. Colonel Yevgeny Markov, a man forged in the crucible of revolution, maintained a stark contrast to Volkov's intellectual fervor. His apartment, Spartan and functional, reflected his pragmatic nature. He moved through the complex with an unwavering authority, his gaze sweeping over the sprawling facilities, ensuring the smooth operation of the project. His past was a tapestry woven from the threads of war and revolution, a life marked by loss and hardship. He held a deep-seated respect for order and efficiency, seeing the project as a necessary means to an end, a tool to bolster the Soviet Union's scientific prowess. However, beneath the surface of his unwavering resolve, a subtle unease lingered, a nagging feeling that the project might hold a darker purpose than initially perceived. Their contrasting personalities, one driven by intellectual pursuit and the other by pragmatism, created a dynamic tension within the project. Anya Petrova, a botanist by trade, possessed a sharp intellect and an unwavering spirit of inquiry. Her small, cluttered apartment, filled with pressed flowers and botanical sketches, was a sanctuary from the sterile environment of the laboratory. Her past was one of quiet resilience, of navigating a world that often seemed indifferent to the beauty and fragility of nature. She saw the experiment not as a means to scientific advancement, but as a violation of the natural order. Her deep-seated connection to the natural world provided a constant source of strength and a profound sense of ethical responsibility. She was a voice of reason, a whisper of dissent in the oppressive silence of the project. Her presence served as a poignant counterpoint to the overwhelming scientific fervor of Volkov and the rigid pragmatism of Markov. The three individuals, each with their unique motivations and past experiences, were unknowingly drawn into a complex web of ambition, fear, and impending doom. Their paths converged within the confines of Project Nightingale, a place where the boundaries of science and sanity were about to be irrevocably shattered. The environment, itself a reflection of the regime, served as a backdrop to their individual struggles, amplifying the tension and foreshadowing the horrors that lay ahead. Whispers of the experiment's true purpose began to circulate, chilling tales of forced genetic manipulation and the potential for unlocking powers beyond human comprehension. Anya, observing the subtle changes in the subjects, noticed disturbing patterns, a growing detachment, a blurring of their personalities. Markov, caught between his duty and a growing unease, discovered cryptic notes detailing the experiment's true goal, not just extending life, but warping it. A chilling revelation emerged. The subjects weren't merely sleeping, they were being subjected to a terrifying transformation, their minds and bodies twisted by forces beyond their control. Dr. Volkov, driven by a desperate need to understand the human mind's limits, focused on meticulously charting the subject's physiological responses. His goal was to unlock the secrets of extended consciousness, to find a way to push the boundaries of human potential. His initial obstacle was the resistance of the subjects themselves. Their growing unease and paranoia made it increasingly difficult to gather accurate data, their minds clouded by the unknown horrors they were experiencing. The experiment, initially perceived as a scientific pursuit, was becoming a harrowing battle against the subject's own defenses. Anya, witnessing the escalating distress, sought to understand the true nature of the experiment, her goal to expose the unethical practices taking root within Project Nightingale. Colonel Markov, torn between his duty and the growing whispers of dissent, found himself increasingly isolated. His initial goal was to ensure the experiment's success, to maintain order and control. However, the disturbing patterns emerging within the subjects, the subtle shifts in their personalities, and the disturbing notes he'd discovered were creating a significant obstacle. He began to question the morality of the project, his loyalty tested by the creeping fear and the unsettling revelations. His growing suspicion became a silent struggle, a secret conflict playing out within the confines of his own mind. He was caught between his duty to the regime and a growing awareness of the experiment's darker implications. Anya, observing the subject's deteriorating mental states, began to document her findings, her initial goal to understand the experiment's effects. She noticed a pattern in their reactions, a growing disconnect from reality, an unsettling detachment from their former selves. This observation became her first significant obstacle: how to prove the experiment's true nature without jeopardizing herself and her colleagues. She sought allies, building a network of individuals who shared her concerns, individuals who were also beginning to question the project's ethical implications. Anya's determination to uncover the truth was intertwined with a growing understanding of the experiment's potential for irreversible harm. The evolving dynamics between the characters created a complex web of alliances and betrayals. Volkov, blinded by his ambition, remained oblivious to the growing unrest. His relationship with Markov, once professional, became strained, the unspoken tension palpable. Anya, though initially alone in her suspicions, began to find support in unexpected places, forging alliances with other researchers who shared her concerns. A subplot emerged concerning a hidden archive within the complex, a repository of forbidden knowledge that held clues to the true nature of the experiment. This archive became a crucial objective, a potential source of answers to the questions that were tormenting the researchers. The quest for this archive became a key subplot, driving the narrative forward and intensifying the stakes. The initial obstacles faced by the characters were not merely scientific hurdles. They were tests of their moral compass, their willingness to challenge authority, and their ability to trust one another. The characters' individual goals and the introduction of the hidden archive created a complex narrative tapestry, setting the stage for further conflict and the unfolding horrors of Project Nightingale. The initial development of the plot was laying the groundwork for a terrifying revelation: the true nature of the Russian sleep experiment. A jarring clang echoed through the sterile corridors of Project Nightingale, shattering the usual silence. The rhythmic hum of machinery, a constant companion to the researchers, was abruptly silenced, replaced by a chaotic cacophony. The inciting incident had arrived, a violent interruption of the meticulously controlled environment. The carefully constructed routine of the experiment was shattered, leaving the researchers reeling in confusion and fear. The inciting incident was more than just a disruption. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of the unknown forces at play within the complex. Dr. Volkov, engrossed in his analysis of the latest data, was jolted from his concentration. The sudden disruption shattered the carefully calibrated atmosphere he had cultivated, the carefully controlled environment that had become his sanctuary. The initial shock gave way to a rising tide of anxiety. His carefully constructed plans, his meticulously documented observations were now rendered meaningless. The inciting incident had not only disrupted his work, but had also introduced an element of unpredictability into the experiment. A dangerous unknown that threatened to unravel everything he had worked for. His motivation to respond was born from a primal fear, the fear of losing control. Colonel Markov, patrolling the perimeter, was confronted with a scene of growing chaos. The disruption had triggered a chain reaction, unsettling the carefully maintained order within the complex. The usual disciplined movements of the guards had faltered, replaced by a panicked scramble to restore order. The inciting incident had exposed the fragility of the control he had so painstakingly maintained. His initial reaction was one of anger and frustration, a primal need to restore the broken order. His motivation to respond was rooted in a desperate need to regain control and prevent further escalation. Anya Petrova, documenting the subject's reactions in her notebook, noticed a sudden surge of erratic activity. The subjects, previously docile, now exhibited signs of profound distress. The inciting incident had triggered a cascade of unpredictable responses, a horrifying manifestation of the experiment's hidden effects. The initial disruption had unleashed a torrent of unsettling phenomena. Her motivation to respond was born from a growing sense of urgency, a profound need to understand and mitigate the escalating chaos. The incident forced her to confront the true nature of the experiment and the horrifying potential consequences for the subjects. The inciting incident, a jarring disruption of the carefully constructed routine, had exposed the fragility of the experiment and the unseen forces at play. It had unleashed a torrent of anxieties, fears, and uncertainties, propelling the characters into a desperate struggle for control and survival. The event had shattered the carefully constructed facade of scientific progress, revealing the terrifying reality lurking beneath the surface of Project Nightingale. The characters' motivations to respond were fueled by a primal need to understand, to protect, and to survive amidst the chaos and terror unfolding before them. The status quo had been irrevocably altered, initiating a new phase of conflict and pushing the characters to the brink of their limitations. The initial disruption had triggered a cascade of unforeseen consequences. The once controlled environment of Project Nightingale now echoed with panicked shouts and the frantic beeping of malfunctioning equipment. The carefully calibrated experiments were thrown into disarray, the carefully maintained protocols shattered. The scientists, once focused on their data, now found themselves grappling with the immediate crisis, their initial goals overshadowed by the urgent need to restore order. The rising action was now a relentless struggle against the encroaching chaos. Dr. Volkov, realizing the extent of the damage, felt a cold dread grip his heart. His meticulous plans were crumbling, replaced by a desperate need to understand the cause of the disruption. His motivation shifted from scientific discovery to survival. He began to suspect a deliberate sabotage, a hidden hand manipulating the events unfolding around him. This suspicion fueled his determination to uncover the truth, to expose the hidden forces at play within the complex. A new challenge emerged, identifying the source of the sabotage, a task that would require him to venture beyond the sterile confines of the laboratory. Colonel Markov, grappling with the loss of control, found himself facing a new obstacle, restoring order amidst the chaos. His initial focus was on containing the situation, preventing the incident from escalating into a full-blown disaster. His motivation shifted from maintaining order to ensuring the safety of the subjects. The panicked whispers of the experimenters and the growing unrest among the subjects were a source of immense pressure. He was forced to confront the possibility that the experiment itself might be the source of the disruption. Anya Petrova, witnessing the escalating distress of the subjects, felt a growing sense of dread. Her initial goal had been to understand the experiment's effects. Now her priority was saving the subjects from whatever horrors awaited them. She discovered a hidden room within the complex, a forgotten storage area filled with unsettling documents and fragmented notes. These documents revealed a dark history, hinting at the experiment's true nature, a desperate attempt to harness forbidden knowledge. This discovery became a new challenge, deciphering the cryptic messages and using the knowledge to protect the subjects. A new subplot emerged, focusing on the potential for a larger conspiracy within the Soviet regime. A new character emerged, a shadowy figure known only as the Observer, who seemed to be manipulating events from the shadows. The Observer's motivations remained shrouded in mystery, but their actions were clearly aimed at disrupting the experiment and potentially achieving a sinister goal. This new threat intensified the existing conflict, creating a new layer of danger and uncertainty. The Observer's presence further complicated the situation, adding another dimension to the rising action and prompting the characters to question their own allegiances. The environment itself began to shift, reflecting the escalating tension. The once sterile corridors now seemed to breathe, their shadows stretching and twisting in unsettling ways. Strange symbols appeared on the walls, hinting at a deeper, more sinister truth. The setting became an active participant in the rising action, mirroring the growing chaos and fear within the complex. The characters were increasingly trapped in a labyrinth of secrets and deceit, their motivations intertwined with the unfolding horrors of the experiment. The escalating chaos within Project Nightingale intensified the conflicts among the characters. Volkov, now convinced of sabotage, pressed forward, determined to expose the hidden hand behind the disruption. His pursuit of the truth led him deeper into the complex's labyrinthine corridors, where whispers of the experiment's true purpose echoed in the growing silence. The stakes were rising with each passing moment as the line between sanity and madness blurred for everyone involved. The rising action was a relentless push towards a terrifying climax. Markov, struggling to maintain order, found himself increasingly isolated. His attempts to restore control were met with resistance, not only from the subjects but also from the growing unrest among the scientists. The subplots intertwined, creating a web of suspicion and distrust. His dilemma deepened as he questioned whether the experiment itself was the source of the chaos, or if a more sinister force was at play. The escalating tension between his duty and his conscience became a defining factor in his character arc. Anya, deciphering the cryptic messages within the hidden archive, uncovered a chilling truth. The experiment was not merely about extending life, but about manipulating the very fabric of reality. Her subplot intensified as she realized the potential for irreversible harm. She understood that the subjects were not just being experimented on. They were being transformed, their minds and bodies twisted by forces beyond their comprehension. Her quest to protect them became intertwined with a desperate fight against time and a growing sense of hopelessness. The Observer's presence became more menacing, their actions more calculated. The Observer seemed to orchestrate the escalating chaos, pushing the characters further into their respective dilemmas. The subplots converged, creating a sense of impending doom. The Observer's motives remained a mystery, adding another layer of complexity to the rising action. The characters were trapped in a game of cat and mouse, their every move meticulously observed by the unseen force. A crucial turning point arrived when a subject, seemingly beyond the grasp of the experiment, began to exhibit unusual abilities. This event sent shockwaves through the complex, creating a new level of urgency. The escalating stakes became apparent. The subjects were not just experimental subjects, they were becoming something else entirely. The increasing tension among the characters reached a fever pitch, with accusations and recriminations flying. Trust eroded, replaced by a pervasive atmosphere of suspicion and paranoia. Volkov's pursuit of the truth became more dangerous, and Markov's attempts to restore order became increasingly futile. The subplots further intertwined as the characters discovered connections between the hidden archive, the observer, and the escalating transformations of the subjects. The environment itself seemed to conspire against them, reflecting the growing dread and the characters' inner turmoil. The rising action was now a relentless spiral towards a terrifying climax, leaving the characters caught in a web of deceit and despair, their motivations intertwined with the unfolding horrors of the experiment. The escalating tension within Project Nightingale reached a critical point. The rising action, now a relentless push towards a terrifying climax. Volkov, driven by his growing certainty of a conspiracy, discovered a hidden passage leading to a subterranean chamber deep beneath the complex. This discovery became a major turning point, a pivotal moment that revealed the true extent of the experiment's depravity. The approaching climax felt palpable, the air thick with the anticipation of a terrible revelation. Markov, grappling with the mounting chaos and the disturbing transformations of the subjects, faced a crucial dilemma. His loyalty to the regime clashed with his growing empathy for the suffering individuals. He was caught in a web of conflicting loyalties, his character development marked by a growing internal conflict. The turning point arrived when he witnessed a subject, once a colleague, exhibiting disturbing, almost inhuman abilities. This pivotal moment forced him to confront the ethical implications of the experiment, pushing him towards a crucial decision. Anya, piecing together the fragmented information from the hidden archive, uncovered a chilling truth about the observer. They were not merely an external force, but a manifestation of the experiment itself. This realization was a major turning point, shifting her perspective and her motivation. She understood that the observer was a product of the experiment's insidious influence, a creature born from the twisted reality within the complex. Her goal transformed from protecting the subjects to stopping the experiment itself, a desperate fight against a force that seemed to defy logic. The subjects' transformations intensified, their personalities fracturing and merging into something monstrous. This escalating horror became a pivotal moment, forcing the remaining scientists to confront the true nature of the experiment. The once controlled environment now spiraled into a terrifying spectacle of suffering and madness. This pivotal moment set the stage for the inevitable climax, the final confrontation with the experiment's monstrous consequences. A critical confrontation between Volkov and Markov unfolded within the subterranean chamber, their differing perspectives clashing violently. Volkov, driven by his relentless pursuit of the truth, saw the chamber as the key to understanding the experiment's purpose. Markov, torn between his duty and his conscience, saw it as a potential escape route, a path to stopping the experiment's horrors. Their differing viewpoints became a catalyst for further conflict, highlighting the moral and ethical struggles at the heart of the rising action. The final turning point arrived when Anya discovered a hidden mechanism within the chamber, a potential means to shut down the experiment. This revelation became the catalyst for a desperate race against time. The characters' motivations intensified, their individual goals converging into a shared objective: to stop the experiment before it consumed them all. The environment itself seemed to reflect this growing sense of urgency, its ominous atmosphere reaching a crescendo. The approaching climax was undeniable, the final confrontation with the experiment's horrifying consequences imminent. The rising action reached its peak, the characters now standing on the precipice of the climax. Their individual journeys converged, their motivations unified in a desperate fight for survival and sanity. The characters' development was profound, marked by choices and sacrifices that would shape their destinies. The stage was set for the inevitable confrontation, the final act of the Russian sleep experiment. The air within Project Nightingale thickened, a palpable tension hanging heavy in the corridors. The once controlled environment now vibrated with a palpable sense of impending doom. Volkov, driven by his discovery of the subterranean chamber, meticulously planned his next move, his mind racing with possibilities. The build-up to the climax was a silent, calculated dance, a prelude to the inevitable confrontation. The stage was being set for major resolutions. Markov, grappling with his internal conflict, sought allies. He reached out to Anya, recognizing her unwavering resolve and her growing understanding of the experiment's true nature. Their alliance, forged in shared fear and a common goal, was a significant development. Minor confrontations with the observer's influence intensified, testing their newfound bond. These smaller skirmishes were a prelude to the larger battle that awaited. Anya, armed with the knowledge from the hidden archive, meticulously studied the mechanism within the subterranean chamber. Her focus was not only on understanding its function, but also on finding a way to exploit its weaknesses. Her preparations were marked by a growing sense of urgency, the looming climax a constant presence in her thoughts. The build-up was a race against time, each passing moment adding to the pressure. The subject's transformations continued, their struggles escalating. Some, consumed by the experiment, became instruments of the observer's will, their actions unpredictable and dangerous. These minor plot resolutions, though horrifying, were part of the build-up, foreshadowing the larger conflict. The scientists were witnessing the horrifying consequences of the experiment in real time, adding to the growing sense of dread. A minor subplot emerged involving a lone technician, Dmitri, who held a hidden key to the experiment's security systems. Dmitri, initially reluctant, was slowly drawn into the conflict, his past experiences influencing his decision to aid the scientists. This minor character introduction added another layer to the narrative, foreshadowing a potential turning point in the climax. His actions would have a significant impact on the outcome. The environment itself seemed to conspire against them, the building groaning under the strain of the experiment's influence. Strange occurrences became more frequent, escalating the sense of unease. These subtle changes in the setting were a form of foreshadowing, building the tension and emphasizing the experiment's escalating influence. The build-up to the climax was not just about the characters' actions, but also about the environment's response to their struggle. The characters' alliances and betrayals deepened, adding another layer of complexity to the narrative. The build-up to the climax was not a linear progression, but a complex interplay of forces, with each minor confrontation and resolution contributing to the overall tension and the inevitable confrontation. The stage was meticulously set, each character's motivation and the setting's subtle changes pointing towards the grand resolution that awaited. The final tensions within Project Nightingale crackled, the air thick with the weight of the impending climax. Volkov, his resolve hardened by the growing horrors, finalized his plan to access the subterranean chamber. The last challenges were not just physical, they were mental, pushing the characters to their limits. The build-up was a meticulously crafted sequence of events, each designed to bring the narrative threads together. Markov, torn between his duty and his conscience, faced his final obstacle: the unwavering loyalty of the guards, many of whom had been subtly influenced by the experiment. His alliance with Anya became crucial, their shared understanding of the experiment's true nature providing a vital link. The last challenge tested their resolve, forcing them to make difficult choices. Anya, armed with her newfound knowledge, discovered a hidden weakness in the chamber's security system. Her final challenge was to exploit this vulnerability without triggering the experiment's fail-safe mechanisms. The stakes were higher than ever, as a failure could unleash irreversible chaos. The build-up was a complex interplay of intellect and courage, culminating in a crucial moment of decision. The subject's transformations reached a terrifying peak, their actions becoming increasingly erratic and unpredictable. Their struggle became a final challenge for the remaining scientists, a constant reminder of the experiment's destructive power. The last challenges were not just external, they were internal, pushing the characters to the brink of their sanity. Dmitri, the technician, played a crucial role in the final stages of the build-up. He had access to the experiment's core systems, a vital piece of information that could tip the balance. His alignment with the scientists became essential, his knowledge a final key to the solution. The last challenge for him was to overcome his own fears and anxieties, his past influencing his present actions. The environment itself intensified, the building groaning under the weight of the experiment's influence. Strange phenomena, once subtle, now became overt, a final challenge to the scientists' resolve. The setting mirrored the characters' inner turmoil, amplifying the tension and foreshadowing the climax. The final obstacles were not just physical, but also psychological, testing the characters' mental fortitude. The narrative threads converged, aligning perfectly for the climax. Volkov's plan, Markov's alliance, Anya's knowledge, Dmitri's intervention, and the setting's escalating anxieties all pointed towards a single, inevitable confrontation. The build-up was not merely a collection of events, but a carefully orchestrated sequence, each element designed to heighten the tension and ensure a powerful and impactful climax. The final challenges were the final steps on the path to resolution, pushing the characters to their limits and ensuring that all narrative threads converged for the ultimate confrontation. The climax arrived with a deafening roar, shattering the oppressive silence of Project Nightingale. Volkov, Markov, Anya, and Dmitri, their individual struggles converging, stood before the heart of the experiment, the subterranean chamber pulsating with an unnatural energy. The decisive confrontations began, a desperate battle against the experiment's monstrous creation. The culmination of the subplots was upon them, a final reckoning with the horrors they had unleashed. Markov, confronting his inner demons and the loyalty of the guards, made a decisive choice. He acted not as a soldier, but as a man, choosing humanity over obedience. His resolution was to disrupt the experiment from within, using his knowledge of the complex to create a diversion, buying precious time for Anya and Volkov. This act was a turning point, a moment of profound character resolution. Anya, exploiting the hidden weakness in the chamber's security, activated the countermeasures. Her resolution was not just about stopping the experiment, but about saving the remaining subjects. The culmination of her knowledge and determination was about to determine the fate of those trapped within. The chamber shuddered, the unnatural energy momentarily waning, creating a window of opportunity. Volkov, facing the observer, engaged in a final desperate battle of wills. His resolution was not just about stopping the experiment, but about understanding its origins, its purpose. The confrontation was a clash of intellect and will, a struggle between the pursuit of knowledge and the consequences of unchecked ambition. He sought to comprehend the observer's true nature, a final piece of the puzzle. Dmitri, utilizing his knowledge of the core systems, initiated a cascading shutdown of the experiment's infrastructure. His resolution was to sever the connection between the observer and the subjects, severing the very threads that bound them to the experiment. His actions were the final piece in the intricate puzzle, the culmination of his knowledge and his bravery. The chamber shuddered violently, the unnatural energy dissipating as the experiment's hold on reality weakened. the resolution of the main conflicts was complete. The subjects, their transformations arrested, began to regain their sanity. The observer, its power diminished, retreated into the shadows. The climax had concluded, leaving behind a desolate yet hopeful landscape. The story had reached its resolution, its conclusion a testament to the character's resilience and courage. The Russian sleep experiment was over, but its echoes would forever resonate. To prevent such horrors from ever happening again, a global initiative must be established, focused on the ethical implications of scientific advancement and the importance of human oversight. We must learn from the mistakes of the past and ensure that the pursuit of knowledge never again leads to the exploitation and suffering of humanity. Let this be a cautionary tale, a reminder of the profound responsibility we bear in the face of scientific progress. The dust settled, the echoes of the final confrontation fading into the desolate expanse of Project Nightingale. The once ominous complex now stood as a monument to the horrors witnessed, a chilling reminder of the experiment's destructive power. The characters, scarred but resolute, emerged from the crucible of the climax, forever altered by their experiences. The story's conclusion offered a profound reflection on the events that transpired. Volkov, having glimpsed the terrifying depths of the experiment, was left with a profound sense of responsibility. His thirst for knowledge had been tempered by the horrors he witnessed, his character development marked by a profound shift in perspective. He understood that the pursuit of knowledge must always be balanced by a deep ethical consideration. He vowed to dedicate his life to ensuring such experiments never again saw the light of day. Markov, having confronted his own demons and chosen humanity over obedience, emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. His character development was marked by a newfound strength and resolve, a profound change in his priorities. He understood the importance of safeguarding human dignity and the inherent worth of every individual. He vowed to dedicate his future to advocating for ethical scientific practices. Anya, having saved the subjects from the clutches of the experiment, was left with a profound sense of loss. Her character development was marked by a deep sorrow, a profound understanding of the fragility of the human spirit. Yet she found solace in the knowledge that she had played a crucial role in saving lives and preventing further harm. She dedicated her life to advocating for the protection of vulnerable populations. Dmitri, having played a crucial role in the experiment's downfall, was left with a profound sense of relief. His character development was marked by a quiet courage, a recognition of the importance of his actions. He knew that he had played a crucial role in saving lives and preventing further harm. He dedicated his future to safeguarding the integrity of scientific research. The epilogue hinted at a future where the lessons learned from the Russian sleep experiment would be applied to protect humanity from similar horrors. The story concluded not with a triumphant victory, but with a somber acknowledgement of the fragility of humanity and the importance of ethical responsibility. The world outside Project Nightingale would never be the same, forever scarred by the events that unfolded within its walls. To prevent such atrocities from ever recurring, a global initiative dedicated to ethical oversight in scientific research is paramount. We must learn from the mistakes of the past, ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge never again leads to the exploitation and suffering of humanity. Let this be a cautionary tale, a constant reminder of the profound responsibility we bear in the face of scientific progress.
आशीष आशीष तुमने गार्ड को मुझ पे नजर रखने के लिए बोला है